What if I told you that life is always working in your favor? I know, hard to believe, given that the state of the world is quite questionable. But what if I told you that every setback, every obstacle, every failure, every heartbreak, and every broken promise is all working out in your favor? So, for a long time, I believed that the system was against me. I believe that because of all of my surface level identities that I was not meant to succeed. And I bought into those beliefs. I remember feeling so angry, so tired, so exhausted just by constantly scanning every room and wondering who was for me and who was against me. But then again, time and time again, sometimes, I'm not sure if you've experienced this, but sometimes those who you thought would be for you are actually the ones against you. And those that you perceived to be against you were actually the ones that were for you. And so I remember specifically there was this one moment when I was in Phoenix. It was around 2017. I remember my partner and I at the time. I'm going to be so honest with you right now. I remember my partner and I at the time, we were headed to what you would call, if you're from Phoenix, gay Denny's. And for those who know, they know, but it's on 7th Street in Camelback, I believe, near Charlie's and what you would also call the place who serves gay tacos. If you know, you know. And my partner at the time really liked enjoying marijuana. And so, you become who you surround yourself with. You get influenced by those you surround yourself with. Was not much of a smoker. I'm not at all now. But it's what we did. And I remember we were headed to Gay Denny's to have a meal. I'm like, was it breakfast? Why am I smoking that early in the morning? Okay. Nonetheless, I remember we went to Denny's high. And for those of you who have a Denny's, it's a diner, and it's really easy to eat as much as you can when you're in that state of mind. But I remember there was a moment when we were talking, and I remember realizing that all of those beliefs that I had bought into during my time in university, learning about the systems and such, something just like hit me out of water and made me say, those are actually not my stories. That's not actually what I experienced. That is not my personal story. I know this to be true because I have this piece of content somewhere. I remember recording it because it felt like an epiphany. And, given, when you're smoking that stuff, certain neurons start firing off and you start realizing some things in some situations and some moments in time. And one of those times at that gay Denny's, I just remember telling them that actually these are not my personal stories. If anything, I was adopting the anger and the grief and the frustration and the sadness from people who did experience those stories. I would say I'm a pretty I have this feeling of often wanting to ensure that things and situations feel fair. Fairness is really important to me, and that's a whole different conversation because given this alarm going off, many alarms. But at that time, again, 2017, that's already 10 years ago. That I adopted those stories as my own and felt the frustration and grief and anger and sadness for myself. And I carried that with me. And I remember how exhausting that was. And it wasn't until that day at Gay Denny's that I was like, oh shit, that's not my personal story. And so that's when I started asking myself bigger and deeper questions. Where did I learn this? When did I begin believing this? Do I want to continue to buy into this? And what do I believe now? And I say this because when I look back on my life, I realized how much of it was for me. And specifically that moment at the Gay Denny's, I was thinking about the white people in my life. I'm just going to call it what it is because at that point, the conversations and what I was learning was like white supremacy and such. Not to say that it's not a thing, but I remember thinking back on my childhood and realizing that I was actually babysat by a white babysitter. Like she was my next door neighbor. And I didn't get, I mean, I was a kid, but I was like, that was not my experience. And it's hard for me to believe that these people who I consider second family, to believe that they believed those things. And maybe that's all I needed at the time was to be like, you know what? This next door neighbors and this second family had never said anything that would resemble that kind of belief. And so then I had to ask myself, the same for my situation with my parents and coming from Filipino parents and immigrant parents. I had to ask myself in terms of being practically an only child and being the youngest out of five siblings and being the only one from my two parents. I had to ask myself the questions around my personal upbringing in West Phoenix. I had to ask myself around my childhood as to, my parents not being as present as I would like them to be. And not as available to support me in my schooling. I had to ask myself around the neighborhood I was in and all the kids I grew up with. I had to ask myself in terms of the schools that I went to and the people that I was around, and the list goes on and on and on. And so now I'm here, and I'm stating that these marginalized identities are actually now my advantage. And I'm using them as a way to bring people together, to be a bridge between all kinds of groups, to be a point of connection. There's so many being in this vessel garners so many opportunities and possibilities. They're truly endless. And that to me is a much better belief that I would prefer to buy into than whatever I got or bought into from anybody else, including my parents, including my family, including my friends, including people I grew up with, including my babysitters, including childhood friends, high school friends, university friends, whatever the case may be. And I say this when I talk about like, how can I use this? How can I use this vessel to be a bridge um, to people that would probably be like an unlikely connection? And for instance, there's someone that I recently met that I'm currently connecting with, and it's an older gentleman, I think with an Italian background, but you couldn't tell if you saw them from across the room. They just turned 50. Actually, he just turned 50. And we have been connecting just for the sake of connecting. And this person like found my YouTube channel and was like, "Hey, saw you. If you want to talk, I'm here." Okay. Random, appreciate it. Because they found me on LinkedIn and such. And I was like, you know what? Why don't I? Why not? Why not? Why not? And so I did. And we've been in conversations for about like 4 virtual coffee chats now. And for me, I've realized that I wouldn't have experienced this connection if I was so caught up in the belief that the system and white people and X, Y, and Z are not for me and that they're against me. And I'm going to tell you this, the connection is so strong that even after the conversation today, me and this person said, like, hey, love you, like, be well. My partner was like, who in the world are you telling them that you love them like that? And I was like, "Oh yeah, this person like that's just like my soul brother, you know? Like it feels like kindred spirits already." And they were like, "I feel like I don't even know you. Like I have never seen this part of you or I haven't experienced that version of you." And I was like, "Well, so you see what happened was." But it was just like it's when you know. Like attracts like. And I've gotten to the point in my belief system that I do believe that we're all siblings, period, point blank, period. And all of us are on our own path. And so when I do meet someone who's on a similar path and we get to walk alongside each other for a little while, like that brings so much relief to my heart to know that I have a companion for this leg of the journey. And so, how to see that as such and to realize like, and I'm going to be so honest with you, me and this person are connecting. This person is a whole like very similar, like a whole ass dad, whole ass husband, whole ass entrepreneur, and we are literally meeting for the sake of meeting because there's a connection. And we have yet to figure out why we've been brought together. We have not found the thing yet, or have yeah, we just haven't found a thing yet, haven't created a thing yet. But for me, there's already trust in the connection. There's trust in the connection because of how I feel in it. I feel excited. I feel energized. I feel curious. I feel connected. I feel such a symbiotic, um, yeah, kindred spirit with this person. And to me, I'm at this point in my life, I don't even I don't even care what it is that we do. I just enjoy playing the game of life with them. And even if it's just for a short game. And it's interesting because I have a best friend who recently sent a clip to me. And it was on the Andrew Huberman show, that they're a big fan of that person and that podcast host. And the clip was 3 minutes and 35 seconds. And the guest was just talking about the importance of relationships and importance of playing with each other, like being an energy source to energy source, of playing not against each other, but just with each other, and realizing that if you're out of the game, if someone is not present, paying attention, and not passing back and forth this energy exchange, then we're not playing the game anymore. And that's, of course, for every relationship. But it's also allowed me to start thinking about life in a different way, in terms of it being a game itself. Like, for instance, there's this book called The Game of Life and How to Play It by Florence Scovel Shinn. And it's a self published spiritual guide published in 1925. And the book teaches that life's outcomes depend on understanding and applying various laws of metaphysics. Shin explores concepts like the power of words and imagination, the importance of intuition over specific desires, and spiritual laws, including karma, non resistance, and forgiveness. She offers a practical philosophy for navigating life's challenges through spiritual awareness and intentional living. And so it's interesting because even in this conversation with this gentleman, I could feel in him like being in his 50s, actually 50 now, and just the trainings, the programming, and the beliefs about business or what around every action, not every action, but like a project should be intentional, strategic, which I completely agree with. But I'm grateful for our conversation and experience with each other because it reminded me of how much of how much sometimes you like to play just for the sake of playing. It doesn't always have to be in a competitive spirit. It doesn't always have to be with some end goal. It doesn't always have to be with some ROI. And so yeah, it just made me think like, what are their beliefs around business and how it's supposed to be played, and realizing that life is a game, business is a game. And at least this is my new paradigm and perspective. And so I was just surprised to hear myself in it, given that I have approached things very similarly to this person with intentionality and strategy, but I was surprised to hear myself to say that I'm not concerned about the outcome. I'm not concerned about the ROI. I'm not concerned of how we choose to continue to engage with each other and how we choose to play and what game we choose to play. For instance, we're talking about podcasting. I All I know is that I enjoy connecting with you. All I know is that I enjoy this exchange. All I know is that I enjoy and feel energized and curious and connected in this game. And I was kind of taken aback by myself. I was just like, since when was that okay? And I tell you, when I say like intentionality and strategy, literally this morning, my meeting this morning, I was like, how can we be intentional and strategic about this? But both of these meetings from today, it's interesting because both of these people were like, but how can we make sure that you get something out of it? But how can we make sure that I get something out of it? How do I make sure? And I think what's happening right now is just this practice of this belief of being like, I don't mind. I don't mind what comes of this as long as I am enjoying myself in the process. That if I feel energized, excited, curious, connected, joyful, peaceful, and just in a generally powerful and empowered state, I don't mind what happens. And so for me, even saying that out loud, I'm just like, who am I? Well, isn't that the ultimate question? Who am I? So let me ask you this. What beliefs have you bought into that are actually not your own? Recognizing that when you were a little being, that you came into through your mother's womb and came out the other side, those beliefs, you didn't have any beliefs. They were all put onto your shoulders, into your brain, into your mind, into your being, in X, Y, and Z. What beliefs have you bought into? Number two, what beliefs, out of those beliefs, do you want a refund on? Like 100% guarantee full refund. And number three, what powerful beliefs would you like to replace them with? So again, for instance, I bought into the belief that system, the government, white people were against me until I realized that they actually weren't. And they're still not, and they never will be. And so when I looked at my life and realized actually all of the white people I know, when I look at the systems I've been a part of, X, Y, and Z, they've actually been very supportive and helpful and have poured into me and invested in me, in my well-being and my success, however I chose to define it at that time. So then I replaced that belief saying, actually, everything in life, everything and everyone in life is happening for me, not against me, and in my favor. I may or may not realize it or see it right now, but in hindsight, that has always been the case. I know that this is a lot to ask from anybody, to look at my beliefs, to get a refund on them, and then to replace them with new ones and start building into that. Yeah, I know it because it's taken me almost a decade to reprogram myself. And honestly, we're just getting started. So if I'm just getting started and really living into and believing by being and acting as if these beliefs are true for me, in which they are, I would suggest start now. There is no better time to start taking the weeds out of our minds and start planting new seeds so that we can grow new ones. Not new weeds, but flowers with intentionality. I would say start now. But I'm going to give you a new one. If you've made it to the end of this video, given that I'm showing up just as I am at the energy level that I'm at, and you've made it this far, I'm going to tell you this. First and foremost, what I'm sharing with you all is was the start of my journey, was starting with the beliefs. But as of the past 2 weeks, I am remembering and learning that actually there's a couple steps before this. So if you're still here, I hope that this really helps you, because this is where I wish I started 10 years ago. Because I think if I would have started this 10 years ago, I would be in a completely different place. But you start where you start. First and foremost, I want to say that personal development may seem like it's personal, but it's actually for the benefit of everyone. So, regardless of how you feel about it, for me, I believe it's a part of this process called life. And that if you don't take that part of the journey seriously, that leg of the journey, which is a forever journey, realizing it's quite a selfish act. It seems selfish to be like, I'm going to work on myself. But realizing actually working on ourselves is actually in benefit of everyone that's in our lives and everyone else, that it ripple effects and butterfly effects to everybody else. So first and foremost, making the decision that you even want to start that part of the journey, because I can tell you this, my partner just came in here, well, before I recorded this video, and I'm going to tell you, I love the human being. I love the being named my partner with the name that they have and have chosen for themselves. Um, but they were telling me, like, this is so hard. Like, working on yourself is so hard. It's actually so much easier to focus on everybody else, everything outside of us, to numb ourselves with our devices, our vices, and other people's problems, because working on our own problems and looking at yourself in the mirror and then having me as a partner, I'm not saying I'm all that in a bag of chips, but like, but then again, I am. Like, let me read that. I'm like, you know what? I am all that in a bag of chips. But there are some burnt chips in there. There's quite a few of them, and that's okay. But yeah, to have me as a partner to reflect back to them, like, I'm hearing something else. And currently, where I'm at, where I like, it's really exhausting being in conversations with people, not because they're exhausting, but because of how attuned I am to what words people are saying now, and how I'm in my own practice of my awareness of what words I'm saying now. Showing up to YouTube is a part of that. But they were saying, like, this shit is hard. And I told them, I was like, yeah, but when are you going to start? Because if you don't do it now, you're going to be backed up with your own bullshit for the next 10 years. And then at that point, man, that's a whole different level of constipation. So just start now, little by little. Just keep up your hygiene, right? It's like the same with flossing and brushing your teeth and taking a shower. Like, life is always going to be lifing. But to like not ask these bigger questions of ourselves right now, just starting now, life will continue to be lifing. So might as well start your hygienic practices right now. And And so if you want to start, I'm going to tell you this is where you should start. And I'm going to tell you this because this is what I'm learning for myself and remembering for myself, is that I wish what someone would have told me to start here instead. Start with your identity first. Then you move on to your beliefs. And realize that the identity part of it is connected to our nervous systems. So then this may require some work as to like, what nervous system did you adopt from your mother's womb? And yeah, that's a whole different conversation that I'm still learning about. But when it comes to the identity part, realizing that that beliefs come from the identity, right? And realizing that beliefs and mindset are a part of a similar game. And yeah, so if I were you, I would do the identity work before you even do the beliefs. I'm really talking about beliefs today because I was around all kinds of people today and their beliefs. And so that's what inspired this channel. But like I said, like this work will always be there. All work works. And if I were you, I'd start now, because if you don't start now, it's only going to continue to build up from here. And we don't want someone around here full of full of shit and being constipated. Come on now. So with that said, I want to be completely transparent with you, because I wish someone would have told me, hey, you should start with your identity and nervous system first. I'm now in the process of embodying what that means for myself. And what that means is, oh, hey, you're a content creator, you're a creator entrepreneur, you do YouTube. Well, here I am being a YouTuber, a content creator, and a creator entrepreneur, and doing the things that those identities do, so I can have the things that those identities have, right? The be, do, have paradigm. That's a whole different conversation. But nonetheless, I don't want, so the identity and the nervous system work, the mindset work and such, like I'm currently in the process of using YouTube as a platform to create my curriculum for the Creator Leadership Academy. And so I need your help in that. I need your help in that in terms of feedback and asking questions and being in the comments and being like, hey, like, what did you do about this? Or where did you do about that? And realizing I'm not coming to this as an expert. I'm getting to come to this with just my own lived experience. But given all of these awesome identities that I have, that's not quote, awesome identities, I'm going to use the word marginalized. Again, using them to be a bridge builder, to be a connector, to find people who have done that work, have came out on the other side, to then share that with all of you. I get to be that connector and bridge builder for all of you. So whatever questions you may have, know that I am more than happy and willing to find the person or people that I feel like would resonate with you and what we're building here together. But nonetheless, just because I'm currently working on the curriculum itself, and it's going to be a process, especially because I'm reflecting back on my lived experience, doesn't mean I'm going to wait to help you. Doesn't mean I'm going to wait until then, until it's perfect or when I'm ready to help you. Right now, I can help you. So if that's something that you are interested in, you can check out my stand store for one-on-one coaching. You can even ask for a personalized video, whatever the case may be that you feel like is going to support you in your journey. And so, like I said, because of all of my intersecting identities, I definitely come with a very interesting and unique perspective, given the way that my brain works, and also just my current attunement and what I'm paying attention to when it comes to people's words, and being able to really call people out on their bullshit and just reflect back to them what I'm observing and hearing. And so if that is something that you're interested in and you're ready to get started in this work, go ahead and check out my stand store below and sign up for one-on-one coaching. If you have any questions, you can always look at the calendar for a vibe check to see if we vibe. I would hope that this would give you some sort of idea of what you're getting into. But yeah, nonetheless, I want to support you where you're at in your journey, as I'm in the process of building out this curriculum, finding our coaches, and building the Creator Leadership Academy. So regardless of where you're at, I encourage you that if this resonates with you at all, feel free to subscribe to the channel as we build this out together. And yeah, just know that I look forward to meeting you, whether online, in person, and supporting you in your journey. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. So don't forget to stay rascal. All right. Bye now.